Good morning, everybody. I'm honored actually that you've all chosen to spend your day here today talking about this topic. Very near and dear to my heart, community recreation and getting kids with autism, as well as youth and adults involved and active in their communities. So today we're really going to be focusing on thinking about where to get started with community recreation, thinking about why community recreation is so important, thinking about some of the nitty-gritty topics around how to get your child support that they might need to access community recreation. And then because COVID, we're going to actually spend some time today talking about virtual recreation, so how you can get your child involved with things that are more like online options for engagement. And then at the end, I'm going to share several resources that are hopefully helpful to everyone. This content was really created with parents in mind, so thinking about what families are going through right now and their challenges to access recreation. But teachers, school personnel, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I think this content will certainly be helpful in your interactions with families, so supporting children and their parents to make these types of decisions, and also understanding, again, the value in the participation in active recreation. So as we get started here, just one slide about Canucks Autism Network for anyone who's not familiar. So we were founded in 2008. It's hard to believe. We're in 2020 now. CAN started with, so we call it CAN, that's our shorthand. CAN started with one soccer program for children back in 2008 and has since evolved to become an organization. I'm going to show you a slide in a second that has a bunch of numbers on it that serves thousands of children, youth, and adults with autism every year across the province of BC. And we no longer just focus on sport, although sport continues to be a huge part of what we offer at Canucks Autism Network. We also have really diversified and expanded our programs for youth and adults, most recently adding a number of programs that are focused around employment supports for adults. Just such an important area and really something that's emerging nationally as a topic that's getting much more focused, so I'm so happy to see that. Another major arm of what we do is exactly what we're doing here today, which is getting out in the community and speaking to people, trying to build capacity to support, in general, more inclusive communities for families with autism, children with autism, autistic adults. We really want to talk to everybody about how they can do their part in helping communities to become more inclusive, and certainly to support families as well in their journey through all of this. So I'll just say a brief introduction about myself. So my role at CAN, I'm the VP of Programs, Training, and Community Engagement, which is a very long title, which simply means that I oversee the group of people in the CAN office who run all of our programs, who run our training initiatives, and then also what I spoke to, which is sort of this community engagement side of what we do. I'm also a mother of a child who's almost a year old. So I only mention that because if you see me and you think, I saw her present on the last ACT videos that were up on 2013, and she seemed a lot smarter then. I truly think that a lot of my brain cells have died as a result of sleep deprivation. So if you see me standing here today, struggling and looking for a word, I'm going to just say brain cells, which is my shorthand for, I really think that the sleep deprivation is a huge thing. I am myself a sport recreation enthusiast for sure. When the opportunity came up to be involved with CAN, I was very excited because I had this kind of more academic background in autism. I had done my PhD dissertation on working with swimming instructors to support children with autism in the community where I live, which was amazing. So it was sort of this really interesting intersection of my sort of academic interest and my personal interest. But I was not really a sporty child. So I only say that again to encourage you that if you're a parent and you're supporting your own child and you're finding, wow, they're not really like just, hitting it out of the park with this involvement in sport and recreation, that's okay. Like, we're not here to create hardcore athletes. We're going to talk today about really why it's so important to try to find any way you possibly can to get your child active or encourage them to be active. But sometimes I think this is about planting seeds. So when I was a child, we did a lot of outdoor recreation, a lot of hiking, cross-country skiing, camping, and I hated it. I hated a lot of it. Like, my parents had to bribe me to participate in cross-country skiing. I remember they would give me Smarties if I could make it like to the next tree up ahead. But now I love all those things. So you never know what's going to stick with your children. And I think early exposure is really, it might really feel like a fight in the beginning, but you can never be sure of how things will turn out. And as I said earlier, a huge part of my job is being an advocate actually in the community for children, youth, and adults with autism, alongside many of our members who come out and support us in this advocacy work. And I think the thing that's changed about me since I did the last presentation for ACT in 2013 is I just have so many more experiences with not only the children that we support in our programs and the youth and those adults, but also so many more engagements and touch points with the sport and recreation sector. So what you're going to see me talk about today brings together those two perspectives, what I hear from families and what I know are the challenges that they face, and also what I hear in the sports sector and what I hear in the recreation sector about how those people want to be inclusive and what challenges they face. So the strategies and the ideas I'm going to present today are meant to sort of be that, encouragement for us all to continue to work together, because we're not there yet, but we have to kind of keep taking those steps forward together. And I really feel that I have a much better understanding now of what's available to parents, what might be most accessible for parents, questions parents can ask to really understand what a program can offer or not offer. So I'll try to talk about all that this morning. So just briefly, some of the work we do at CAN in this sector includes now partners such as, for those of you who are in British Columbia, the British Columbia Parks and Recreation Association. We now have quite an extensive partnership with them where we're doing regular online webinars to teach their recreation leaders. We developed a full online module specifically for recreation leaders here in British Columbia, and I'll show you the links for that later. We do regular touch points with a number of municipalities across the province. So we're talking to, for example, swimming instructors and skate leaders, and lots of training with day camp providers. So that's been a great relationship. And again, I think that we're in an era now where these groups are really starting to talk about inclusion. And it's exciting to be a part of. It's not perfect. We're not all the way there yet, but the movement is happening. We also work with partners like Via Sport, which is the provincial arm that sort of looks at quality sport here in British Columbia. And then we've also worked with the Coaching Association of Canada, so we're starting to get a little bit more of a national reach. We developed a module specifically for sport coaches. So again, in a few minutes, I'm going to talk about when I entered this work, I really thought sport and recreation were the same thing. And I didn't realize those are actually two quite different entities. And if you're a parent and you're trying to navigate those systems for your child, there are different ways you can be effective depending on who you're talking to. So we'll talk about that. So we've developed a separate module for recreation from the one we did for sport coaches, because sport coaches need a certain type of points and they're very motivated to get these points. And so anyhow, I'll show you that one as well at the end. I'm someone who's not a black and white thinker on what's the right way to do this. By that I mean, what's important I think is that your child is active and that they're happy and that you as a family are also happy. So, the goal is for sport and recreation not to feel like a struggle for either of you. So not for your child and not for you as the parent, trying to encourage your child to participate. So that means that families find their own way. So if the way that works for your family is that your child is just very active in their neighborhood and they do a lot of things on the street with other kids and they play outside and, as a family you do things together on the weekend, that's great. If the way being active works for you as a family is that your kid happens to love soccer and they get really involved in a sport, wonderful. I'm thrilled. That's excellent. If that's something your child enjoys, that's great. But being active doesn't have to mean doing a sport. Certainly some members that we work with at Canucks Autism Network have had tremendous success working within the Special Olympics organization. I know many children and youth who have started with us in some of our introductory programs. They've desired to go into more of a competitive format. That's not something we do at CAN. We don't run any competitive sport programs. They have found that the quote-unquote mainstream, which I'll talk about later, system has been really challenging for them to access. But their youth, in this case, these youth have gotten very involved in competitive swim meets, competitive floor hockey, competitive basketball, offered through the Special Olympics system, which is really actually set up at that high performance level to mirror sort of quote unquote the typical sports system. So if that's the way that works for you and your family to have, your son or daughter engaged in recreation, I think that's great too. I am not someone who says it has to be this way or that way. So the goal is just for people to be active and people to be happy about being active. Great. So the numbers on the slide really just give you an idea of the scope of what we're doing right now. Around 6,000 members here in BC. So